Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we're live. We're off the mark. Excellent. Okay, so happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you've all had a lovely weekend and enjoyed, oh, hang on. I can hear my own. Why can I hear my own voice? Bear with us 2 seconds, guys. There we go. There we go. Okay, guys. So we are going to be looking at paired eating and overeating this week. So looking at different habits that we can fall into when it comes to our food and our relationship with food. Let's see if I can load this up again. There we go, guys. Cool. So yeah, when it comes to our food, it's funny because we all know that we need our food for energy. We need our food to keep us moving and to get us through the day. But we don't realize that there's almost like an emotional side of our relationship with food as well. And it's really easy to fall into different eating habits, different eating habits, different eating patterns, easy ways that we can sort of justify things to ourselves, and then before we know it, we end up overeating. And it's been a really big one over the last 18 months as well, through lockdown and stuff like that. I've found a lot of people who were quite active, out and about all day, construction workers, people even like myself, that was around the gym all day, teaching fitness classes, this, that, and the other, quite active jobs or quite active sort of lifestyles. And then lockdown came along and we were sort of at home, as pretty much all of us were, and lockdown kicked in, and I think a lot of people's eating habits stayed the same. You'd eat the same sort of things, you'd eat the same sort of time of day, maybe even with a little bit more snacking in between, because the fridge was just sort of there all day long, maybe shouting your name while you sat there trying to get a little bit of work done, and that alone has been enough to lead people to putting just a little bit of weight on through lockdown. Like I say, to go from burning X amount of calories with your active lifestyle to just being sat at home, like it's really hard to burn that many calories. I've got like a little fitness tracker that was constantly buzzing me, get up and move, get up and move. I'm like, I can only move around the house so much, even exercising, going out for walks and stuff like that. I still wasn't as active as I was when I was at work on the gym floor. So my eating habits stayed the same, and they didn't need to because my lifestyle had changed, albeit temporarily, but my lifestyle had changed. So we've got to think about our eating habits, and when we're eating and why we're eating certain things. And like I say, understanding, and now that we've come to understand a little bit more about what certain sort of foods in the diet do, what protein do, what's carbohydrates, what's fats, and we can think about when we actually need them, as opposed to just sort of mindlessly putting whatever meals into our body. So there's a lot of different aspects of overeating, I guess, that I want to have a little bit of a look at this morning. Of course, as always, guys, before we sort of dive in, I just want to point out the little the survey is in there for this week's session, so please fill that in, guys. And there's another workout video for this week as well. We're doing a upper and lower body sort of interval split, so you'll do sort of some exercises upper body, some exercises lower body, with a timer, so you'll work for X amount of seconds, then you'll rest for a shorter amount of time, and just sort of go from there. So plenty of different muscles going to be worked. And at the same time, you'll be thinking about just, of course, everything that we've sort of covered in this morning's session as well. So if you're not feeling that, like I say, you're thinking, oh, it's Monday, I'd like to maybe have a nice little stretch, maybe do some stuff, sat down in my chair, or do some ab work or something like that. If you follow that link that's in the description, that'll take you straight to the YouTube video and the playlist. So you can see all the different workouts that are there, and you can pick through and find one that actually sort of suits what you're looking for on this fine Monday morning. We've got the sun shining. It's actually quite a clear sky this morning. So, I'm going to take all of these nice days while we've got them, certainly as winter gets a little bit closer. Okay, guys. So as always, to fill in the survey, if you just click on that link, it'll take you straight to the right page. Put all your answers on there, and then that just comes straight back to us. So you've not got to download it, fill it in, email it back. None of that. Just follow the link. That'll take you straight to where you need to be, and just put your answers on there, guys. As always, my email is in the description as well if you need me, and a link to our Google Drive where you'll find any other learner info as well that you might need. If there's anything that you're looking for that you can't find, please just give me a shout and I'll point you in the right direction, guys. Okay, last thing that's in there really is the links to all of our social pages. You know what we've got in there. We've got LinkedIn, Twitter, Insta, and Facebook as well, if you want to follow us up on there and keep track of what's going on. Right, guys, let's get into it then. Let's get into it. So when it comes to paired eating and overeating, different reasons why people end up overeating, you know. So can you, in the next 30 seconds to a minute or so, think of 1, 2, even 3 reasons why people might overeat? Yeah, so we're thinking, just trying to think about now. If you're following along in the chat and you want to put in the chat, then by all means do. I'll just be keeping an eye on the chat on my phone like I always do. But yeah, we'll just have a minute. If you're watching back during the week, like I say, just have a little bit of a ponder, have a little bit of a think. Why do you overeat? Somebody that you know overeats, or if you don't really know anybody that overeats, or you think overeats, why might somebody end up overeating? Yeah, I'll give it another few seconds, and then we'll spitball some ideas down. So why might people overeat? And again, I think we've probably covered one already in the sense of people overeat because they exercising or moving less, but eating the same amount of calories. Yeah. Change in lifestyle, but right. Yeah, so we're thinking, like I mentioned not so long ago, exercising or moving less, but eating the same amount of calories as they were before. Yeah, so we're thinking a change in the lifestyle, but not reflected in diet. Yeah, and that's an easy way that people can end up overeating. It might be a comforting thing. It might be like I say, the emotional side of things. It might be comfort eating. Yeah, so comfort eating. To help manage emotions. Yeah. So if you feel like you're really struggling with something, you're feeling quite overwhelmed, you know, it can be quite easy to go to the fridge or the cupboard and grab something out that makes you feel a little bit better, you know, probably something that's going to be quite sugary or quite salty, you know, like a snack that makes all them receptors in your brain go off and, you know, give you that temporary good feeling. Sometimes that is a way that some people sort of process emotions and deal with emotions, you know. Like I say, sort of comfort eating to help manage their emotions. And it's sometimes a control thing as well, guys. It's sometimes like the universe and the world around me is so chaotic and unpredictable. That's the key word, I think, unpredictable. In that you don't know what's coming, you can't control every aspect of life, and it's human nature to want some element of control. So sometimes we end up controlling things that we can control. Yeah, and that sometimes is our food. Can go one of two ways. Someone might get really sort of anal about their diet and how clean it's got to be and only eating certain things and stuff like that. But some people go the other way, and they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to. It's almost like I'm going to sort of do this to myself so that the world can't do it to me, sort of thing, you know. By all accounts anyway, it's not really anything that I've sort of experienced myself, but I've seen it with people that are close to me that have had emotional issues that needed resolving, and that manifested itself into an unhealthy relationship with food. Yeah, where it was really, really controlled to a fault, really. So it can get too much that way, in like the control side of things. So we could say comfort eating to help manage emotions and feel in control. And then what about the third one, guys? What about the third one? So can we think of another reason why people might overeat? We've got exercising, moving less but eating the same amount of calories, so changing the lifestyle but not the diet. And we've got comfort eating to help manage emotions and feel in control. A third one that we could have would be boredom. Yeah, I've known people, and I've done it myself from time to time, where you end up going back to the kitchen out of boredom, and you're eating, snacking throughout the day. Again, especially through lockdown, it was like when we weren't even allowed out other than to have like an hour's exercise. There was a time during lockdown where we weren't even supposed to be meeting up with other people from other households outdoors. So a lot of stuff that we might have wanted to go and do with all that spare time wasn't actually available to us. I remember at one point saying to my missus, I was like, isn't it typical for so long we wanted to have some time off together, and now we actually ended up with time off together, granted through lockdown. So we can't actually go and do anything that we always wanted to go and do. And of course we understood why, totally understood why. And it was not just the case of like, it's totally like, could you believe it? Like, you couldn't write it, sort of thing. So I'm sure there's plenty of us out there that have found ourselves grazing, snacking, eating the wrong stuff through lockdown, just out of boredom. I remember there was one night me and Alex made we made cake at like midnight, and I was just like, there was nothing to be up for the next morning. Now granted, we didn't like eat it till the next day or start eating any of it till the next day, but it was just like sort of like bit no man's land when like sort of time went out the window a little bit. So it really did just like turn into sort of like boredom eating sometimes, and doing just stuff at weird times of the day, because like I say, there was no normality really for a certain time. Such a strange time. But boredom is a big one, guys. And thinking aside from lockdown, especially if you are at home, you work from home on a weekend or whatever, even just evenings. Evenings, you've been at work all day, you've got the kids, you've got them sorted out, and then use it in for the evening, and you could just end up again. Can really creep up on you, especially if you're not tracking your food, or you're not really thinking about being aware how many calories you've had on a daily basis, and especially if you're not weighing yourself, even on the semi-regular as well, every week, every 2 weeks or whatever. If you wait 6 months to say whether your weight's going up or down based on new habits or these changes in your lifestyle, if you wait 6 months, you can very easily get on the scale and realize that you've put a couple of stone on or lost a load of muscle mass, thinking about going the other way because you've been eating the wrong stuff. You haven't eaten enough protein to maintain the muscle that you've been working hard to get, So 3 things there to definitely watch out for, guys. And that's, again, not just in yourself. Maybe you recognize some of these behaviors, and we're going to talk about some more in just a sec. But you recognize some of these behaviors from people that are close to you, people that family, friends. So yeah, just have a little bit of a think this morning as we're going through, because although a lot of these can sound really exaggerated or really sort of extreme, they're quite common things that I've come across in my sort of time in the industry, working with different clients and stuff like that. So really, I've always found it interesting how everybody has their own relationship with food and their own sort of perception with food, and not just preferred foods, but different eating habits, different eating times, all of that sort of thing. And it just goes to show what works for one person really doesn't work for somebody else. We are all different, guys. And we are all prone to a little bit of overeating at times, I'm sure. So let's get into it, guys. Let's thinking about why people might not exercise. So we've got this end of the spectrum. So if we've got think of it as like a scale, to be honest. So you've got sort of energy in versus energy out. So energy in is the food that you're eating on a daily basis, everything that you're ingesting, drinks as well. That's your energy in, anything that brings calories into the body. Yeah. And then we've got the other end of that equation, which is energy out. Yeah. So if we are burning more than we're eating, we're going to lose weight. Yeah. Because this side's heavier. If we're eating more than we're burning, we're going to put weight on because this side's heavier. Yeah. So we've got, like I say, we've got energy in versus energy out pretty much. And if there will be occasions where it's easier to tackle one end than the other. Yeah. So sometimes rather than thinking about the energy coming in and what you're eating, sometimes it makes more sense to think about the other end and the energy that you're burning in the exercise and think, okay, can I get a little bit more exercise in? Where some people will go the other way and they would want to not necessarily change the amount of exercise that they're doing, but they would like to just reduce some of the foods and some of the calories that's coming in. So again, that changes from person to person depending on which of those two is going to be easier to tackle or more impactful to start to change and deal with first. But of course, there's lots of reasons why people might not exercise. So can we think of any, guys? Same again. We'll just have a minute or two, and I'll give you a chance to, like I say, either pop something in the chat or even just have a little bit of a ponder yourself. See if you can think, why might people not exercise? Again, we could be thinking through lockdown. We could think sort of like now. We can think sort of totally COVID aside. Why might people not exercise? So yeah, I'll give you a minute or so, just have a little think, and I'm gonna shoot and just grab a glass of water quick, and then we'll start going through these. So it will be 2 minutes, guys. Okay. So 3 reasons why people might not exercise, and these might be things that you've experienced yourself. Again, it might be something that is relevant to family, friends, people that are close to you. The first reason I can think of why people might not exercise might be just a lack of motivation, I guess. Yeah, lack of motivation. Now, motivation's it's a strange one because motivation is always at best going to be on and off. It's going to be fleeting. It's never going to hang around forever, guys. And the way that I always used to try and think about it was trying to think about discipline as well as motivation. It's like the idea of doing something because it's part of your routine or doing something because you need to do it, even though you don't really fancy doing it. The same way that if you were to wake up on a morning and you don't want to go to work, but you still get up and go, you still get up, you put your uniform on, you go and you do your job. And that's because it's expected, but I do find that this lack of motivation can come from some couple of different places, really. Sometimes it comes from like a lack of self-belief, and they think, well, I'm just going to fail anyway, so what's the point? Sometimes it is just not so much a lack of motivation, but they're lifestyle is tiring, and they're fatigued, and maybe that even goes as far as for number two, to say not enough time. Yeah, definitely a reason that I've heard. And people say that they haven't been exercising, they haven't got to the gym, they haven't done what it is that they should be doing. The same applies to food prep, actually. Like, people run out of time to do their food prep, and like I say, like, the way I think about that is, like, we've all got the same 24 hours in a day. It's just a case of how do we manage them. How do we spend them? What's our priorities? Because you'll find that, and I have found that, as somebody's exercise becomes a higher priority to them, these problems start to melt away a little bit. Not enough time, sometimes not enough money, I can't afford it, sort of thing, or lack of motivation, I've got no energy, I'm too tired, this, that, and the other. I've seen this shift in people. So we could even say for this last one, not enough money. Yeah. Too costly. Yeah. So I've had clients, I've spoken to people in the gym over the years, and I've spoken to them, and I've tried to mention personal training to them, and through or for whatever reason, money's tight, and they say to us, look, Rob, I want to come to you, but I can only really afford to come and see you once a month. I'm like, amazing, great, once a month I can get you on the scales, I can do your circumference measurements, I can do your fitness checks, we can do some stuff in the gym and see where you're actually at with stuff, and like, happy days. It was nice to have them started. And then I noticed he'd lost a little bit of weight. And he was starting to feel better. He was getting more energy, day to day. He had more sort of get up and go. He was enjoying life a lot more, and he was starting to make progress, albeit small. He was moving in the right direction and tweaking things and all of that. So it got to the point where he came to us and said, look, Rob, I want to come and do a session with you every week. So that quadruples the amount of sessions that he's having every month, so of course that quadruples the cost, and I was thinking to myself, so when I first spoke to him, he was umming and ahhing, and he was like, okay, I can get enough money together for a personal training session once a month. Then all of a sudden he was wanting to get one-on-one like tuition every week, and I was just sort of speaking to him throughout the session, and I'd never said like, oh, like what's changed or anything like that. He actually sort of volunteered that information up himself, and he said to us, he was like, Rob, do you know what? Since I'm training, I'm not going out on the lash on the weekends, or I'm not drinking as much, I'm not getting a takeaway a couple of nights a week. Like, I'm actually saving myself that money that is then going to pay for my personal training, and of course his fitness was becoming more and more a priority, that the takeaways and the weekends and the nights out and stuff like that was coming down his priority list. So all of a sudden, he was making time for exercise, and he had money that he was actually saving himself. I've had people that have packed in cigarettes, packed in the tabs, and all of a sudden they want to pay for 2 sessions a month or whatever, because they were spending that every week on cigarettes or tobacco or whatever it was. So that's like I say, we do all have the same 24 hours in the day. It's just, what do we do with them? How do we use them, guys? I guess, really. So those are probably 3 of the most common ones that I've come across why people don't actually exercise. There are a lot out there, guys. Like I say, lack of self-belief, where none of these actually apply. They've got the money that they could go, they've got the time, and they know where they would want to go. They're motivated and they're up for it, but they don't want to go to a gym and feel like the odd one out. They don't want to feel like the newbie. They don't want to feel like the one person that everybody's looking at, So that lack of confidence or that lack of self-belief can be enough to stop people exercising. You think as well, if somebody's in that mindset, they're probably not going to take themselves out for a run where they might see whoever, you know. So sometimes it's just a case of I don't feel confident. I don't train at home because I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't want to go, you know, which is very, very rarely ever going to be the case. You know, my experience with gyms and classes, like every now and then you'll get one agent in the gym, but the majority of people are just so supportive, and they're like sometimes even proud that you're making the effort, you know, to better yourself and change your life and all of that. And I've seen a lot of people be really, really receptive and welcoming and really supportive to newbies who were worried about, oh, everybody's just going to laugh at me, you know. Truth is, guys, 99.9% of people in the gym are just worried about what they're doing, and they're doing their own thing. And that 0.1% that might be looking at you and giving you a funny look, or that might make a comment, is going to be a bit of an arse. Like, you know, everybody else in the gym's just as sick of that person as you are, you know. And they make themselves the odd one out just by being like that, you know. And they're not as included in the atmosphere, and they're not as included in the sense of community and socializing that you're going to get from the gym as well, you know. Speaking of which, in the social side of things, actually, sometimes I'm gonna keep these rolling actually. So we had number 4, we could say no self confidence, and I just had a number 5, and it is deserted me. Number 5, I'll get it in a second. I'll get it. It'll come back for us. Okay, guys. So yeah, self-confidence is a big one. Yes, the social side of things. So thinking about I don't want to train alone. Yeah, nobody wants to turn up. Everything I was just saying about turning up to the class and being the newbie and stuff like that. I don't want to train alone is also the same. Like, I don't want to turn up to these places by myself. You know, if I was going with somebody, or felt like there was somebody that I could sort of gravitate towards when I get there, you know, I might find it a little bit easier walking into this venue or this facility or whatever it is. So it's helpful to try and either sort of make buddy with somebody at the gym, or even find somebody you can start your fitness journey with who's at a sort of similar place to where you are at the time, you know, similar sort of goals, and you can motivate each other as well. So a couple of the main reasons that I've come across over the years why people tend to not exercise, it might be injury. You know, there might be something that they're worried about making worse, or, you know, potentially even been told outright by the GPs that they're not allowed to exercise. You know, that is sometimes the case as well. And same again, I've known people over the years that have gone from exercising 5 times a week and training 5-6 times a week to picking up an injury and not really be coming to the gym anymore, but the food stays the same, you know. And again, if you're not exercising as much, you don't need as many calories, guys. So injury can lead to overeating, but at the same time, injury can lead to sort of lack of exercise as well. I guess, guys, we could put it that way as well. But yeah, injuries can sometimes link into the overeating side of things, in the sense that it can be boredom. Just sort of, you can't do the sports that you normally do, the activities that you normally do. Do you end up eating? And sometimes it's this one here, helping to manage our emotions and feel in control. You know, like, you imagine, like, if you were training for a show, like a bodybuilding show, or you had a big football tournament coming up and you picked up an injury and you couldn't then compete, and all of the fitness that you'd done over the last however long felt like it was for nothing. You know, it would be enough to maybe drive you towards the snacky food, you know. And that's like I say, that dopamine release, and be feeling a little bit better about things. So yeah, some of these guys can actually link into a bit of a vicious circle. And like I say, some of them, like I say, it can be harder. Some of these habits can be harder to break than others as well. Okay, guys, cool. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes on each of these as well. Things to think about. How has technology affected our health positively and negatively in the last 30 to 40 years? So same again, guys, if you want to, just put any thoughts that you've got in the chat as we're going along. So how has technology affected our health positively and negatively? So we'll say plus and negative. So how has technology affected our health in a good way, and how has technology affected our health in a bad way as well, guys? So a couple of minutes on there, and then we can move on to how has the media had an effect on our health, and how has our thoughts on safety affected our health as well. So same again, guys, couple of minutes on each of these, and we'll move on. So just a little bit of something for us to think about this morning, get our brains working Monday morning. What's a good and negative impact that technology has had on our health in the last 30 to 40 years? Because, you know, if you think how much technology itself has changed in the last 30, 40 years, you know, we've got not only just like the internet in general has become obviously worldwide and pretty much a necessary utility these days, you know, whereas 40 years ago the people that were on the internet were a lot more sort of scientists, computer scientists, trying to think of the right word other than nerds. Nerds isn't the right word, but it'd be like it was nowhere near as sort of commonplace as it is now. So the internet and everything that the internet brings, you know, in the past 30 to 40 years. Think about some other areas as well, how technology might have changed. Think of travel. Think of other workplaces, how other workplaces might have changed in the last 30 to 40 years. Of course, we've got social media now, which even 20 years ago really wasn't a thing, really, majorly, you know. So social media and everything that comes with that. So access to food, I guess, you know, and in the way that we can ship things and make things last longer and all of that sort of thing as well. So yeah, when you think about it, it feels like a lot's changed in the last 20 years, never mind the last 40. I've only been around for 30 of them though, so I couldn't really vouch for all of it. But yeah, the last 30 to 40 years, there's been some big changes, and I've noticed some big shifts in sort of society and in exercise and in fitness. So ways that it's affected our health for the better and for the worse, for sure, guys. So if we lead into this with the positive, we could say that technology, we have stuff like Fitbits, wearable fitness trackers, yeah. So we'll say wearable tech to monitor health. So we can use like a Fitbit to track our steps. How well have we slept? You know, you can even, you know, enter food on it these days and use it to check your resting heart rate, and I think some of them do your blood pressure now as well. Like, it's amazing what some of these can do. You know, you can go out for a run wearing some tech and you get home and it tells you bird's eye view exactly where you've been, how far you've gone, how many steps it was, what your incline was while you were up there, how many calories ish that you've burned, and that's just from wearing like maybe a 20 to 50 pound band on your wrist. You know, and we get so much more feedback on our exercise, our more data that we can actually track and check. How many hours sleep are we getting a night? How much deep sleep are we getting a night? You know, you can use them to track the amount of cups of coffee you've had for the day, so you can make sure you're not you're not having more coffee than you'd like, or overdoing the caffeine. So wearable tech's been a really, really helpful thing. I remember my dad got it was like a wearable, it was like a strap that went around your chest, and it was like a heart rate monitor. Now this will have been, this has to be at least 10 years ago, actually. So the wrist tech, the Fitbits and stuff like that weren't as common. You know, you didn't see them quite as much. They were a little bit more expensive as well. So my dad got this around his chest, and it would just like live track your heart rate, and you'd make sure, like, if you walked to 5-a-side, his heart rate didn't go too high. If you walked to the gym, his heart rate didn't get too high, and that helped him keep safe, but it helped me feel like assured that he was safe as well, you know, at the same time. So we actually get like a little bit of peace of mind from some of this kit as well. Okay, guys, what else then? What else? How about a negative? How about a negative? How has technology affected our health positively and negatively? Let's just say automation, guys. Yeah, automation. There's so many more jobs now being done by computers out in the farmers' fields. You know, we've got contraptions and machines that'll, you know, turn all the soil over and plant all the seeds and harvest all of them, whatever. And it doesn't require people to do anymore. You know, I used to work in a factory that was all automated, apart from like the bits that we were doing as staff, putting parts on and off of the line and stuff like that. It was all automated. You'd put something on your station, the timer would count down, the buzzer would go off, and it would move off to somewhere else. I didn't have to carry whatever it is, you know. So I was actually moving around a lot less. And it's certainly going that way. Like I say, especially over the last 18 months, as a lot of us have been sat at home, a lot of our socializing has been done through Zoom. You know, again, something that, to be honest, 2 years ago I'd never heard of, never mind 30 to 40 years ago. FaceTime, and you know, we don't need to go and see people anymore. We don't need to go and meet up in person. We can ring them, we can FaceTime them, we can do a Zoom call or whatever it is. You know, we can play an app on our phone, like Words with Friends or whatever, where you don't actually interact with that person, but you're playing a game together. You know, like I'll put a word down, then you put a word down, like that sort of thing, like Scrabble. Without ever going to see each other face to face, the activity point of view, just not moving around as much. Like I say, we don't need to make the effort to go and see somebody these days. It's easier to pick up a bit of tech and ring somebody, you know. So thinking again in the workplaces, like I say, a lot of automation is making things physically easier for workers, you know, which I'm all for. You know, I'm all for, if there's a machine that can lift that heavy thing and save that, potentially putting his back out, happy days. But just we need to make sure that we still get enough exercise and we still move around as much as we need to, you know. Okay, let's see if we get another one or two for each then. So another positive about how technology has affected our health. So we could say better medical care, yeah. Technologies that we can use in heart transplants, the organ transplants, whatever it might be, skin grafts, you know, putting amputees and stuff like that. Like this is all technology that has helped, and these advancements have helped with these people's quality of life, like to a degree that we can't comprehend without having lived with some of those conditions in the first place. You know, so we've got better medical care, longer life expectancy. Yeah. So like I say, it's going in to get checkups, CAT MRIs, X-rays, all of that sort of thing. You know, it's become a lot more refined, a lot more sophisticated. We can do it on more people as well, guys. So yeah, we've got the in a lot of different ways, we've got better medical care and a longer life expectancy. as well as sort of like better, more refined kit for keeping us fit as well. You know, you'll notice that machines in the gyms have come a long way in 40 years, you know, in sort of how safe they are, how they work, how adjustable they are, and all of that sort of thing as well. So a lot of ways the technology actually helps us be fitter and be more active. Contrary to this point that we made where we said automation is actually doing a lot more of the moving around, you know. How easy is it now? Like I say, instead of needing to walk somewhere, if you weren't at a bus stop, you would need to walk somewhere. You could pull up an Uber now. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no drastic need to walk anywhere if you didn't want to. There's a way around everything pretty much these days. So yeah, it's a case of how we use the technology, isn't it, guys, and the way that we sort of work with it. Okay, then we'll see if we can get one more negative. So for our health, certainly mental health included, I would say that the internet and particularly social media has had a huge damaging impact for all the good it can do when used rightly. Social media is used a lot for sort of showing off the best bits of your life, not usually showing the worst bits of your life, and usually presenting your life in a way that isn't usually 100% accurate, you know, adding filters, different perspectives on different photographs, stuff like that, you know. It can actually warp our idea of reality because what we see on the screen isn't reality, guys, you know. But I think it's that entrenched in society these days, and so much value is put on the way that we're perceived on social media now that there's money and careers being made and stuff like that, and influencers and all of this sort of thing going on. You know, it can be really damaging to someone's mental health, and usually in turn their physical health. It can be massively damaging to somebody's mental health. Social media, and you know, I'm a big advocate for every now and then take yourself off for a little bit. You know, I've been off the majority of social media for at least a year now, and I don't miss most of it. I really don't. I've kept the aspects of it that were useful to me and that I was using. You know, being able to speak to colleagues, clients, and stuff like that on Messenger or WhatsApp or email or whatever it is. But I tend to, you know, not really use any social media these days. And it started with lockdown last year, actually. It got to the point where just people bickering and arguing, everything was a conflict, a fight, everything seemed out there to get a reaction. I just said, no, I'm coming off. I want nothing to do with this. And I've never really looked back, guys. So, like I say, it's not, although I think it's sort of perceived as something that we should have and something that we should do and care about. You know what, guys? It's no harm to just not be into social media. It's not your thing. It's not your thing. You know, guys, but social media in general, I feel, you know, we've got to acknowledge that the majority of people do use it, and it can be damaging when looking at cherry posts someone's made. Yeah, because like I say, guys, people are sharing all their successes, all their wins. People don't put the nitty gritty, the darker stuff, all of that sort of thing. That you know, the more complicated aspects of life tends to not make it onto social media. It's all, look at this that I've got that looks good, this new house, this new car, whatever it might be, you know. So yeah, I think it's easy with social media to see someone develop a bit of a following and think, I need to be like that person, I need to look like that person to be accepted and liked and, you know, celebrated. And that's not the case at all, guys. We're all individual, and I think everybody deserves to be celebrated. It's can be quite upsetting to think that, you know, we're all so unique and we all have different things going for us. But people are sort of brainwashed into thinking that the way that they are isn't enough. It's quite a sad thing, you know. I think everybody's uniqueness should be celebrated as well, guys. You know, so if we were all like each other and everybody was the same, it'd be boring. It'd be so boring, wouldn't it? You know, so you know, appreciate your uniqueness, and don't let social media and a few likes and a few hearts on the odd post think, you know, I need to be something that I'm not, or pretend to be something that I'm not, because you know, you're much better off just being yourself. That's for sure, guys. So social media is a big, in my opinion, it can be used in a good way. You know, it can help you stay in contact with other people that you go to the gym with. It can help you find new classes to go to, and can connect with members from those classes. But at the end of the day, I think social media in general has had a more negative effect on our health than a positive, you know. Okay, guys, so how was the media in general had an effect on our health? And then the last question was, how was our thoughts on safety affected our health? Okay, guys. So again, just have a little ponder, have a little think, and in a minute we'll start breaking these down together. We start breaking them down. So how media had an effect on our health, and how has our thoughts on safety affected our health as well? Again, we can make it over the last 30 to 40 years if you want. Or you can even make it a little bit more recently, especially if there's something that you've kind of got in mind that you're thinking of. Okay, guys. Okay, so the media has again, pros and cons, good and bad, effects on our health. So the media has affected our health in the sense that I would say that sort of everything seems to be a lot more, I guess it's the media in general, isn't it? Everything seems to be a lot more sensational, isn't it? Everything needs to be quite extreme, quite exaggerated sometimes. How has the media had an effect on our health? Sharing of information, you know, research coming out, and you know, research has found this. Research gave us our 5 fruit and veg a day, you know, which the media would then sort of relay back to us, and sharing of information and advice, I guess we could say. So, you know, spreading the word, trying to come away from the idea of social media a little bit and thinking about media in general, you know, thinking about newspapers, news stations, media in general, you know, we're thinking about media in general. If you think about media like YouTube, Netflix, other streaming apps, this, that, and the other, I would say it's had a quite negative impact on our health. In fact, like certain platforms encourage binge watching. Encourage binge watching, you know. I'm sure we've all done that thing on YouTube where you go on to find one video and then you see another one, you're like, oh, go on then, I'll watch that. Next thing you know, you've been there 2 hours and you're on a video that's nothing to do with why you originally came on in the first place. You know, I'm sure we've all done it, you know, or watch enough Netflix to see that screen that says, oh, are you still watching, you know? And actually the ability to stream, like I remember back in the day, I sound really old now, oh dear. Back in the day, like before we even had Sky and we just had terrestrial telly, we had like 5 channels. We had 5 TV channels. And if there wasn't a movie on one of those that you wanted to watch and you didn't own it on VHS or DVD, or you didn't watch it, you just did something else, whereas nowadays you can pretty much, across all the different streaming sites and all of this, that, and the other, you can pretty much always find whatever it is that you're looking for, or find something to watch. I'd be quite interested to know actually how many sort of Netflix hours were logged through lockdown compared to pre-lockdown. But even just in general, guys, it's easy to lose an afternoon, an evening, even a day to binge watching and stuff like that. So when we think about media as well, we can think about that sort of thing. Of course, we've got like the newspapers as well. So the newspapers, they don't really have a huge impact on our health in terms of like exercise and stuff like that. But again, newspapers can really affect our mental health as well. So doom and gloom headlines, not good for mental health. Again, they want a reaction from, they want to come up with a headline that's going to get a reaction from the public, from their target audience, and make you want to watch, that announcement or buy the newspaper and see what's going on and stuff like that. And it's so often, it's the negative stuff. It's always the negative stuff. And I can't watch the news for exactly this reason, guys. There's very rarely stuff to be celebrated on the news. A lot of it is negative. And again, I don't think that's good for our mental health either, seeing so much negative all the time, and especially only shown usually from one perspective as well, one side of the story, and being aware that every media outlet, every newspaper, every news channel, every news station has its own agenda, really, I guess. Everything that you see on the news is there because somebody wants you to see it for whatever reason. And like I said, I find it much more beneficial to just not really breathe and get my news that way and take my news in that way, because it always comes with a not an ulterior motive, but it always comes from a very specific angle, doesn't it? But in general, guys, doom and gloom headlines, certainly not good for mental health. I don't think so anyway, day after day after day. So there's that as well, guys. So what about our thoughts on safety? Our thoughts on safety and staying safe. How do we think that's affected our health? So our thoughts on safety, how has that affected our health? Okay, guys. So same again. Have a little bit of a think, and in a minute we'll start working through some of these. So, how's our thoughts on safety affected our health? Okay, guys, so our thoughts on safety. So I think society in general has become a lot more, certainly, health and safety conscious. Feels as though everything these days needs risk assessment and proper process and stuff like that. Risk assessment and health and safety expectations are increased. I think that in general, helps keep us safe. It helps keep us safer, which allows us to, hopefully stay pain and injury free, which allows us to, hopefully have a more active lifestyle. If we were getting hurt every time we turned up to the gym, where we wouldn't be at the gym very much because we'd be hurt, we'd be injured. we wouldn't be able to exercise, and we wouldn't be able to keep on top of our health and stuff like that. So in general, you think about our thoughts on safety. Once upon a time, I'm pretty sure, and again, depends how far you go back, because if you go back far enough, people didn't even know that germs were a thing, So if you think about how nowadays, like, especially with COVID and stuff like that, we've shut down sports. Football stopped happening. Indoor events stopped happening, and rightly so. Whereas at one point, that wouldn't have been the case, guys, neither. So our thoughts and our safety has been put first in those regards as well. And although we're not then able to do the sport, it means that we're going to be a lot healthier for it, not hopefully not picking up this virus, So risk assessments and stuff like that, and I think certainly facilities as well. When it comes to standard of facilities, if you go to leisure centre gym now, it'll be so much more modern, so much safer than it was 20 years ago. That's for sure. Yeah. The standard of facilities, but as well, that applies to sports, sports facilities, swimming pools, swimming baths, all of that sort of thing, But then we've got the other side of the coin of this argument as well, where I'm thinking sort of like, what about when it comes to sometimes it can be too far, It's sort of like I worked in a warehouse once upon a time, and it kind of didn't matter how heavy a box was. If it came off the bottom shelf, you needed to get it out with this particular tool. And the argument, or the reason for it was, if that box is heavy and you get down low and try and slide it out from under that shelf, you could throw your back out. That's like, yeah, within reason, yeah, you could. You've got to observe proper like heavy lifting and just lifting and manual handling techniques. But at the same time, guys, like, if that box has got a few pillows in it, and you can see on the box that it's got pillows in it, like, does it need to be a health and safety protocol that you get it out with this little particular tool, or put it on a trolley, or whatever? So sometimes health and safety sometimes means we're less active, such as manual handling. And again, that works both ways. It helps keep us safe from genuine risk of injury. At the same time, sometimes health and safety goes so far when it's like, you know what, this would be just so much quicker if I could do it this way, and it doesn't provide any extra risk to anybody, really. I don't understand why I have to do it this way. I've definitely been in that position before. And then think about we would become a little bit younger. Think about the kids, guys. Think of the children. So think about, like, I remember when I was a kid, I would be allowed out to play after school. I would be allowed, as long as I stayed sort of on the estate, I didn't have to stay in that street, so I could go 3, 4, 5, 6 streets away. And as long as I was home by a certain time, my parents wouldn't worry too much. Whereas these days, like, even where we're living at the minute, you see kids playing out, but they don't really leave the streets, because parents want to keep more of an eye on them. It seems like even more so than ever these days, you don't know who's living next door. You don't know who lives down the street, So we've got, obviously, safety for kids as well, where they maybe playing out less. Not to mention, again, technology and the way that that's affected kids' health. When we think about Xbox, PlayStation, Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever it might be, there's so many kids coming in from school and sitting down and playing on that till bedtime, pretty much, other than coming in and playing out, get the bike out, go take the football out for a kickabout, or get the skipping ropes or whatever it might be, you know. Kids tend to be less active. And again, I think it's usually, worrying about like your kid's safety, you know. So they play out less, more video games, and need to stay in parents' side. Yeah, so we've got, like I say, kids that are just not able to get out, or not going as far, not, going over the footy pitch and stuff like that. Like, it's almost worse to an extent sometimes, that they're got to stay in the street where the cars are and the road is and all of that. Like I say, we've got like the street out the front. It's kind of a busy street, but we see, like I say, the kids all get in from school on a night, and the kids will all play out in the street. Whereas 2 minutes away around the corner, we've got a big sort of green, a big field that we take the dog around sometimes. But the kids don't go around there because they're not allowed to stray that far away from their parents, and rightly so in this day and age. If I had kids, I wouldn't want them sort of going any further away than I was sort of comfortable with. But hobbies and activities as they're getting older as well. So there's definitely that to think about. So technology in general, guys, there's good sides to it, there's bad sides to it. It's quite handy to sit and sort of consider both sides of that coin, I think, and think about, like, it's not on us to decide whether it's worth it. We can decide whether it's worth it, I guess, but it's not going to change that technology that we've got is here to stay, really. So and it's probably only going to develop and get more and more advanced as well. Lots of on the technology side of things. Right, guys, let's spin on. Okay, so reasons why we might overeat. Before we get into proper sort of paired eating exercises and all of that sort of thing. So we've got depression. Yeah. In fact, let's put the some of the emotional stuff in together. So we've got depression, stress, and mood in general. Yeah, stuff that we mentioned, all stuff that we mentioned earlier on, in that sometimes if we have some pretty intense emotions going on, or a low mood, we can find ourselves eating either for that sense of control or for that chemical release from eating certain foods, the sugary snacks, and it's usually the junk food and stuff like that. But we temporarily feel better, albeit only temporarily. We've got, what else have we got? So we've got mindless eating. So I said kind of like boredom, like we'd said, like especially through lockdown, less to do. So there's maybe that as well. Habit or a routine. Yeah. So again, it might be that your lifestyle changes, but your food or your diet doesn't, or vice versa. Or it might be sort of, when we think about habits, we might be thinking more along the lines of like stuff like paired eating. So every time you make a cuppa, do you have to have a couple of biscuits with it? If you put the film on, do you have to have sweets or popcorn? Yeah. If you go to watch the footy, do you have to have a burger and a pint or something like that? Or do you start to pair these things up in your mind? Because I remember, like, I used to always, every time we used to go out scuba diving, we'd obviously get breakfast before we got in the water. So it would be, we'd get a bacon sarnie on a diving day. And to this day, I still have that association in my mind. If I was to go diving tomorrow, I know I'd be hungry for a bacon tani, and it's funny that our mind pairs these things up, but it does, guys. So that's the sort of thing that we might need to be sort of mindful of. And then we could put these two in together, sort of friends and occasions. You know, maybe as a friend says, "Oh, I've baked a cake. Here's a couple of slices to take home," and you don't want to be like, "No, you keep them." Like, I don't want it, sort of thing. So you might sort of take it out of politeness and you know, just to be nice, sort of thing. So that could be sort of like the friend side of things, or it's like, oh, I'm going to come round and we'll get a takeaway. We could do with a bit of a catch up, you know, when you don't want to be the one to be like, oh no, like I'm on a time round, we'll have a pizza, we'll have a proper catch up and stuff like that. So that can lead to a little bit of overeating. And then like occasions in general, you know, weddings, kids' birthday parties, birthdays in general, you know, a funeral or a wake, you know. Again, these occasions, there might be a buffet, you might want a couple of beers, you might like a glass of wine or whatever it is. And like I say, these things can sort of add up, you know. I don't want everybody to be worrying about, because at the end of the day, guys, this is why I encourage, and it's why I always wanted to know so much about food, so I can say, right, I'm never having that again. It's okay, how can I go to a buffet where there's cake and sausage rolls and cocktail sausage, because I'm going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? I don't mind buffet food. I like bad food as much as anybody. It's just a case of, right, okay, how do I fit it in my diet in a way that I still get enough good food that it doesn't impact the way that I feel or the way that I look, you know? And that's the beauty of it, guys. The more we know about food and nutrition, the more we can have the stuff that we enjoy, because we figure out how to work around it, how to fit it into our diet. You know, I have never been that person that goes to a wedding and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have at least a beer. Do you know what I mean? Or no, I don't want any of your wedding cake. I'm like, pass that wedding cake over here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm all for it. But yeah, it's realizing how you can have these little treats and still maintain that health and wellness, you know. So like I say, it's not a case of sort of making these occasions out to be a bad thing, but sometimes just acknowledging and identifying that, okay, yes, when I go to these things, I eat like this when I know I should eat like this, then that's totally fine. That's a really good thing, because then you can think, okay, where else can I make things a little bit better to make up for this one meal, afternoon, evening, day that's not going to be quite as good, you know. Okay, guys, let's spin on. I think we've got one more slide to do. I know, actually, a couple to do. No, I went backwards first. Okay, guys, cool. So we've got examples of overeat. Now, again, you might pick up on a couple of these and think, you know, that's me to a T. I know I can definitely vouch for a couple of these and say that I've definitely been there myself, guys. So let's have a little bit of a look through, and then we can think about if there's ways that we can maybe work around them as well. Okay, so the first one that we had is the idea of the reward syndrome, guys. Reward syndrome. So if you've had a really bad day, your boss is a nightmare, everyone's driving you crazy, you feel like you deserve a reward just for getting through the day. Yeah. How familiar does that sound, guys? You know, I've had a rough day, I deserve reward for getting through it. Or, you know, sometimes I've lost X amount of weight, I'm going to reward myself with this. But what always cracks me up, guys, is when we think that our rewards need to be food based. You know, they need to be junk, they need to be sweets, they need to be like cheap meals or like that sort of thing. When really, why not reward yourself with something more productive? You know, reward yourself with a new pair of trainers for the gym, or a new pair of joggers, or a new tank top, or a new whatever it might be, a new training hoodie. Get yourself a new water bottle, get yourself a new protein shake or a new protein shaker. You know, there's so much more that you can reward yourself that's going to actually push you on towards where you want to be. Like maybe you, of course, if you're not veggie or something like that, I'm just thinking about what would work for me, what would work as a reward. You know, I would be saying to myself, do you know what? I'm gonna have a reward. I'm gonna have a steak. I'm gonna go out and cook a steak for tea tonight. I'm gonna have a steak, and then I don't know, maybe I'll have a couple of biscuits or a slice of cake or something afterwards. Because that's again because of genetics, because of the calories that I burn and the calories that I need and the way that my body processes certain things. Not necessarily the best idea for everybody, but at the same time, again, you know, reward yourself with stuff that is going to help you keep pushing on, rather than, okay, I've taken two steps forward, so I'm going to reward myself with one step back. You know, just making your journey twice as long if you think about it that way. Okay, then what else have we got? The Last Supper syndrome. I'm going to start a diet tomorrow, and I will never eat cake and biscuits again, so I've got to eat everything in the house. Yeah, and I've seen people do this. I'm going on a diet. So it's usually on Monday. I'm going to start a diet on Monday. Yeah, and I will never eat cake and biscuits again, so I'm going to eat everything in the house. And I've seen this happen. And then Monday comes round, and the diet doesn't get started, or it kind of half gets started, or it gets started and lasts for a day, maybe two. So they've had this big blowout and eaten loads of junk and loads of cake and biscuits and whatever, and then dieted for an afternoon, a day, 2 days, and then they start to tell themselves, right, I'll start again next Monday. I'm going to diet next Monday. And the whole thing starts again, guys. It's like, so the next few days becomes about, oh, I'll have a blowout before I start next Monday again. It's like this pre-diet phase to be in is the most dangerous place to be, especially if you are kidding yourself and you're not going to start a diet. And you're not going to start changing your food around and trying to make these little tweaks, you know. So it's almost more damaging to be in this pre-diet phase, especially if you're in a pre-diet phase every week for half the week, you know. You're almost better to just be honest with yourself and say, okay, that thing that I was trying to do, I'm struggling with, this diet that I'm going to go on needs to change. It needs to look different. It needs to be more sustainable. And at the same time, guys, like I just mentioned, why would starting a diet mean that you can never eat cake or biscuits again? You know, I'm always saying, what's the point of training hard and eating right to feel good and be happy and be healthy, and then deprive ourselves of all the stuff that we enjoy? Like, no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't recommend it. It is, like I say, try and everything in moderation. Start a new diet that allows you to have cake and biscuits sometimes, so you don't need this crazy blowout before you start your diet. Yeah. And we've got the closet syndrome. So nobody's looking. Everybody knows that I'm on a diet, but if they don't see me eat it, they won't know, and then it doesn't count. Which again is a mindset that I've seen and bore witness to. Now there's a saying that I can't remember where I've ever first heard it, but it's always stuck with me, and it's, what you eat in private, you wear in public. You know, it's like you can eat what you want at home, but there's no hiding it when you go out and about, because you physically you will look the way that you look, and from a performance level and from a fitness level and a health and wellness level, you will only be at that point that you're at, you know. So it will, it's not as hiding, and it's not as hidden and as secretive as you might think, guys, you know. The idea that just because it's there, I'm in the kitchen preparing a meal and the biscuit tin lid is off, and because I'm there, I eat them. Yeah. So again, there's a little bit of that boredom thing coming in again, a little bit, isn't it? You know, I'm in the kitchen, I'm preparing a meal, the biscuit tin lid is off, I'm going to eat them. I guess what we could do, guys, you know, if you're a grazer, And if it's just there, try and make it not just be there, you know, put it in the cupboard, have the biscuit tin somewhere else, you know. Do you need a biscuit tin full as well, you know, if you're on a diet? Do you need that temptation? Do you need a full tin of biscuits, you know? Can you just get yourself a packet for the week and make it last, you know? And again, try and put it somewhere that's not just, you're not just going to end up grazing on it at all times a day, you know. Fed up syndrome. I'm bored, lonely, cross, and angry with myself and everybody else, so I'm gonna eat something naughty. Yeah. Like I say, a proper. It's almost self-destruct, isn't it? It's almost like I'm so frustrated with everything in the world, and I've got these emotions going on, and really, in resorting to those bad foods, the only person that's really getting the brunt of the way that you feel about everything else, you're taking that on yourself by eating the wrong sort of foods. You're putting that strain on your own body as opposed to dealing with these emotions, I guess, you know. And if you don't deal with these emotions, or more importantly, sometimes what's triggering them, you're going to find yourself in the same position the next day, you know. You're going to have the same boss at work that's going to wind you up. You're going to have the same colleague. You're going to, you might be just as bored the next day, feeling cross or angry with somebody. Again, that was very, very vicious cycle sort of guys. And I always sort of recommend and push for people to deal with the emotions and what's making them feel a certain way, rather than just, relying on food, and usually the wrong foods, to help them process those emotions as well. We've got the slippery slope idea. I missed breakfast, ate far too much at lunch, so essentially your day is now ruined. So now I'll go the whole hog. It's a bit broke, so let's smash it to pieces. And of course, my sort of answer for this is always like, if you have a bad meal, that's fine. Yeah. Try not to make it turn into a bad day. Yeah. You can have a bad meal. Yeah. But you don't want it to be a bad day. You can have a bad day, but you don't want it to be a bad week. Yeah. And to an extent, it gets to the point where you're sort of like enabling it, so it's like, right, I've had the wrong thing for breakfast. At dinner time, you can either get back on top of things and start eating right again, or you can say to yourself, I'll start again tomorrow. The day is already knackered. So instead of having one bad meal, you have 3 or 4. So you've done 3 or 4 times the damage, or step backwards from your goals, wherever it is that you're trying to get to. So the best time to correct things and put it right and to be doing what you've planned out for yourself is the next time. Yeah, it's not wait till tomorrow. It's not wait till Monday. It's the next time you're due to eat. Make it better than that decision that you've just made. We all going to have times like that. We all have, again, you might get up on a weekend, someone might say to you, I'm going out for breakfast, do you want to come? Yeah, that'd be really nice, actually. We haven't been able to socialize very much the last 18 months. Yeah, I'd like to go for breakfast. So you go down, you have a bacon sarnie or something like that, and you get home. And like I say, you're probably not going to be fancying whatever it was that you like, your chicken salad that you had laid out for yourself for dinner or whatever. But you've had a bacon sarnie. Do you have the salad that you've planned out, or do you go to the burger van and get the burger? One of them's getting you back on track. The other one's just going to give you more work to do when you decide that you are going to get back on the track, guys. So the next opportunity that you get, just write off that bad meal or whatever it is, where something's gone wrong, and just get back on it as soon as you can, guys. Don't wait till the next day. Don't wait till the next Monday. Your next chance to do it is your next chance. Yeah. Which will be when you're eating next. Okay, depression. Being depressed can lead to weight gain, and that can lead to depression, creating a frustrating vicious circle. Yeah, again, massively the emotional side of things as well. There's sometimes underlying things going on, like emotions again that need to be dealt with. But again, it's this overeating, isn't it? We're overeating and we're not exercising enough. We're putting weight on, which certainly isn't going to inspire you to start exercising and make change. So you just continue doing the same. You feel down and you feel low, so you've put weight on, so you don't exercise, so you feel bad and you feel guilty, and then the whole thing just starts again, guys. And really does create that vicious circle. So it's trying to break it, isn't it? And it's either finding a better way to process and deal with depression and depressive symptoms, and at the same time dealing with whatever's causing that in the first place. Yeah, because although it's a vicious circle that leads one into the next, something must have triggered it at some point. Habits. So thinking same again, it's time to eat. You might not be hungry. It might get to 12 noon and you're like, it's time to eat. Go on then, or an evening meal, and maybe you're not particularly hungry, but it's time to eat. Maybe you also used to clearing your plate. Same people, especially family, older generations that won't leave anything on their plate. They've been brought up not to waste things. And I'm not, even if they're not particularly hungry, they're going to eat it so it doesn't go in the bin. They're not hungry, their body doesn't need it, but they're going to eat it so it doesn't go in the bin, which can lead to overeating as well. Crowd pleasing, so sort of just going along with others. If you were out and about in a big group and you were all going to get dinner and you wanted to go somewhere sort of quite healthy, get something nice, everyone else wants to go to, I don't know, Chiquitos or Fat Butter or wherever it might be. Everybody else wants to go there, so you don't want to be the one to kick up a fuss, so you go along as well. And end up just having whatever, guys. So there's that crowd pleasing side of things as well, and just people pleasing. Paired event eating, just like I mentioned earlier on. We're thinking about when you go to the movies, do you have to have a popcorn? If you're having a coffee, do you have to have biscuits? If you're at the beach, do you have to have ice cream or fish and chips, whatever it might be? It's funny how we bring food into these events so often. Like we pair the eating side of things with the event. Then there's eating like for others, for others' sake, like I mentioned earlier as well. I've baked you a special treat. I've baked you a cake. Do you want a couple of slices to take home? Or here's a full tray bake. Here's a full flapjack or whatever it might be. Which again, you don't want to just take it and hide it in the bin. When they ask you, did you enjoy it? You're going to want to say that you've at least tried it and tell them, oh, it was lovely. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the thought, And again, like, this isn't saying somebody does something nice for you like that, you're not allowed to eat it. That's lovely. It's a really nice gesture. Again, it's a case of just being aware of these habits and thinking, okay, where do I make changes elsewhere so that this doesn't really sort of bite me in the backside a little bit? Like I say, so for me, it might be if I know that I'm going to a birthday meal or a do or a wedding or something on a weekend, just try and have slightly fewer calories every day that week. And then it's not going to catch up with you quite as much, So different ways that you can work around that as well. I say special occasions, massively. Nobody wants to turn up and be the one, oh no, I can't have any wedding cake, or like just looking at the buffet food and being like, oh, I don't eat buffet food. I can't eat buffet food. Everybody should be able to let their hair down a little bit from time to time. Now, if you don't enjoy that food, then that's totally fine. But at the same time, if you do enjoy that food, like don't starve yourself of a good time just to be eating sort of 100% perfect all the time, guys. We don't need to. My logic has always been 80% nutritious, 20% delicious, guys. That's what I roll by. 80% of your food, if you make sure that it's good food full of nutrients, vitamins, it's in line with what your body needs, spot on. You can have those. 20% of your foods or calories can be snacks and treats and stuff like that as well, guys. So it's not all about starving yourself of the stuff that you like and that you enjoy. It's more about understanding our body and our fitness and our diet, that we can actually still have those things and still be able to make progress towards our goals, especially our fitness goals and where we'd like to get to in the end. But those are certainly some of the most common examples of overeating that I've come across. And again, drop me an email. Let me know if there's others that you can think of. Stick it in the chat. Or like I say, maybe have a little bit of a thing. Keep your eye out with your own thoughts over the next week or two, and just see if any of these do creep up on you, or if you catch yourself having any of these thoughts at all. Okay, guys. So last slide, I believe. Yeah, last slide to do is the food pyramid, guys. And again, it can just give us an idea on sort of portion sizes and how much of something we should be eating sort of on a daily basis, guys. So what we've got at the bottom, making up the base of the pyramid, carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are going to be kind of like the bulk of most of your meals, really. Think about your potatoes, your rice, your pasta, then you might add your protein and your veg and stuff to it. But, we're going to usually get quite a large amount of carbohydrates day to day, especially just from like a health point of view, because we know we need our carbohydrates for energy. Yeah. Then, of course, we need decent sized helpings of fruit and vegetables every day as well. Vitamins, minerals, nutrients, all of that. So we're looking at 3 to 5 servings of vegetables, 2 to 4 servings of fruit. Of course, if we hit 3 and 2, we get now 5 fruit and veg a day. So the majority or a large chunk of what we eat is going to be carbohydrates, because of course fruit and veg are still carbohydrates. Yeah, so this bottom one will be grains, cereals, rice, pasta, all of that, potatoes, then vegetables and fruit, which we need plenty of. And then sort of the food groups that we're going to have a bit less from, going to be dairy and protein. Yeah, so we're going to have 2 to 3 servings. So we're going to have like a serving of protein at each meal. Yeah, to fill out that meal, add to the carbohydrates. A little bit of dairy as well, a couple of servings of dairy a day. So dairy would be sort of like your butter, cheese, milk, all of that sort of thing, yogurt. Yeah, that would be something that we have a little bit less of as well. And then this tip of the pyramid here that we need less of, use sparingly, is oils and foods that are high in fat and sugar, guys. Yeah, so of course oils, quite calorific, and then foods that are high in fat and sugar, again, we want less of. Yeah, so same again, handy sort of visual representation, sort of visual look at sort of what our portion sizes should be from day to day, how much of each we should be having, really. Again, I've mentioned before that different body types get away with different percentage splits and stuff like that. We can talk about that next week, guys, because we'll be back to look at different body compositions next week, and reasons why and how we come in different shapes and sizes and stuff like that. Okay, guys, so that was the food pyramid, and that was the last thing that we needed to cover this week, actually, guys. So of course, we've got everything that we might need to come back to on that last slide there. If you need to come back and check on anything, next session is, of course, next Monday, same time, and it's our last one next week, guys. I can't believe how fast the last 6 weeks have gone over. Last one next week, and as promised, we're going to be looking at body types and different components of fitness as well. Yeah, so different components of fitness, explaining why you might look at somebody on stage at Mr. Olympia, bodybuilding show, and think that he's really fit, when at the same time you could look at somebody like Lewis Hamilton, a Formula One driver, who is also equally fit, but in his own right. Yeah, so we're going to look at those different types of fitness, those different components of fitness, and like I say, different body types and some of the shapes that most common shapes, body types that people tend to be. So thanks for tuning in this morning, guys. I can't believe how fast that's gone over, actually. So as always, guys, my email is in the description if you need it. Of course, you've probably all got it by now anyway, because of course I'm emailing these sessions out. But yeah, my email is there if you do need it. The survey is there, guys, as well. Please don't forget to do that survey. Like I say, click the link, it'll take you to the form, put it on there, and then the answers just ping back to us. Yeah, you don't have to download and email it back and all of that jazz. Yeah. So we've got, of course, this week's fitness videos in there as well. Again, click the link, it'll take you to our YouTube playlist, and there's different videos to choose from there if you wanted to. And like I say, all the extra learner info is in there as well if you want to check any of that out, guys. Of course, we've got a new hashtag we are media savvy. So if you are posting anything media savvy related, stick that on the end and we'll be sure to see it as well, and it'll make its way back to us. But other than that, guys, that will about wrap us up for this morning then. Of course, as always, give me a shout if you need to. Like I say, you've got my email, it's there. I hope everybody has a good week. Stay safe. I think the weather's on the verge of turning, so make the most of the dry, sunny days while we've got them, guys. Because those colder, autumny sort of days are definitely just around the corner, that's for sure. We've even had a couple already, haven't we? So yeah, enjoy it, guys. Stay safe. Look after yourselves and those around you, and we'll be back next Monday for the last session, and we will we'll wrap things up nicely. Okay, guys, cool. You know where I'm at in the meantime. Like I say, take care of yourselves. Have a good week, and we'll be back here next Monday if I don't hear from you beforehand. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day. See you later.